What's up, YouTube? It's your boy JB, and I'm here tonight with the review for Cloak and Dagger. This is season number 2. This is episode 4, and it's titled Rabbit Holes. So, without further ado, let's go ahead and jump right into this. Alright, guys, so this episode, it opened up, we see Tandy and Ty. They are back at the church that Tyrone has been hiding out. And, she's asking him, like, where is Mayhem at? And he says, I don't know. She said, she went inside of you. He's like, no, she didn't go inside of me because I don't feel her. He said, I think she may have went through me. So yeah, he just feels like she was sucked through him. And then, he tells her that basically this isn't the first time this is happening. She's like, well, when did this happen before? He said it happened with Connors. And she's like, Connors? Like, that was months ago. And, she was like, why come you didn't tell me? Like, what's going on, Ty? Like, you should let me know more stuff that's going on with you. So Tandy's like, you know what? She thinks that she can help him by going through him. And he's like, I don't even know how this happens. So she was like, you know what? Mayhem, she was shooting, so maybe I'll get a gun and shoot at you. Because then he also remembered that, they remembered that Connors pulled a gun on him as well. So then she was like, you know what, Tyrone, it's things that you're afraid, it's your fear. Your fear opens you up to that. So then we see O'Reilly. She's at the police station. And, we see the gang members. They're being, processed and booked. And we see the girls there as well. So then we see one of the gang members. He's asking to get a phone, for his phone call. So they give him a coin, to go to the payphone, which I didn't know they still made payphones. So he goes to the payphone. He puts in the money, and then he makes a phone call. And he mentions, because he's looking at the wanted poster of Tyrone. He mentions Tyrone's name. So then, also at the station, we see, there's the one girl that they saved, from the gang. We see her; she is in the process of being processed for prostitution, and I'm like, but she was sold into sex trafficking. How do they charge girls with prostitution if they were involved in sex, trafficking? Interesting. So then we see O'Reilly. She's calling Tyrone to try to, give Tyrone the heads up on what's going on. But, Tyrone and Tandy's trying to figure out a way to get inside of, Tyrone's fear. So she says, you know what, there's a part of you that might be afraid of him. He's like, nope, not a part of me is afraid of you because I know all about you. So then once again, she's just asking him, why did not he tell her about Connors? And I'm like, maybe he was trying to protect you, It just could have been a multitude of things. So then, she starts talking about his family, and that's when he starts to get fearful of not being able to protect the ones that he loves, and then that's when it opens up again. So then Tandy goes through, and, Tyrone is like, Tandy, can you hear me? And then once Tandy goes on the other side, she's like, Tyrone, can you hear me? And they can't hear each other. So it's like, oh, they're close. It's like they're cut off from the outside world with one. All right, so then we get O'Reilly. She finally gets in touch with Ty, and she's telling him like she's at the station, and the gang members, they see his wanted poster. He's like, well, do they know that they're in the search for me? She says no, but I'm pretty positive that your address is on there. So they may. He's like, oh shit. And he realizes that they might be going after his mom. So then we see his mom. She's at home, and she has these papers out on the table. And if I'm not mistaken, one of them had Billy on it. And, she hears a noise. So she goes to one of the, the drawers in the kitchen, and she pulls out a gun. But lo and behold, it was Ty there to try to save her. So then we go back to Tandy. Tandy is in this dark dimension, and she sees a lot. She sees a lot of pennies, which I forgot to mention that before. She sees a lot of pennies there. And then she sees a young Tyrone sitting in some sand, and I'm like, why is Tyrone there? And then you see it's the Roxanne gas station. So, she's talking to the kid. She's talking about how she was there because of her friend. He says, Tyrone? She's like, yeah. She's like, you know him? Or something like that. And, he kept telling her he takes on many forms. And the one name that stood out to me was Papa Legba. Because I watch American Horror Story. So that is the reason why that stood out to me. So, she asked him, has he saw Mayhem? She's bleeding. She has on a green jacket. He said, yeah, I saw her. I saw the blood. I saw the jacket. And he was like, but why are you looking for it? And she was like, I think maybe she can help me find some bad guys and locate some missing people. And, he tells her that, basically Mayhem can't leave that dimension or wherever they are without her help. That she has to be the one that pulls her through with her, that she's the only one that can do that. So then we see Ty, he's telling his mom that, Mama, you need to leave, like you're in danger. And his mom really wasn't taking too much heed to what he was saying, because, she was just like sort of tidying things up. And I'm like, he's telling you need to leave because your life is in danger. So then we see one of the guys show up, and Tyrone tries to, tries to teleport with his mom, but he can't teleport with his mom, because then we see in the other dimension where other place where I'm gonna say dimension where Tandy is. She's looking through these binoculars, but she can't really see anything through the binoculars. So then, Papa Legba or Tyrone, whoever, tells her that she has, to put a coin in there. So she, uses one of her arrows or bolts of light, whatever they call them, and she sticks it in this thing, and down falls a coin. So on the coin, it has her thing and it has Tyrone's cloak on the other side. So I'm guessing at this point it's taking their powers, because Tyrone can't teleport with his mom, because he was telling her, just be calm, but he can't teleport. So they have to take off running, because again, he has no powers. All right, so then we see Tandy. So I'm not quite sure where she was, but out of nowhere we see Mayhem, and Mayhem has her pinned up against the wall. So then Mayhem asks her, like, what the hell are you doing here? She's like, she wants to know what she knows about the girls, and she's like, it's a little bit too late for that, because I already gave you the opportunity to help me, to work with me, but you turned me down flat. So then Mayhem says for Tandy to, like, girl, stay the hell out of my way. But she tells her, what, Papa Legbo, whoever he was, told me that you can't leave this place without my help. And, so she was like, was it, what was her, I can't remember what her boyfriend's name was, but she said, did he talk to you? She said, no, he took the form of Tyrone. So what I'm thinking is, he takes the form of people that they love or care about. So then Mayhem tells her, well, good luck on finding a way out of here, because I've been looking for a way out of here, and yeah, there's no way out of here. So good luck with that one. All right, so then we see O'Reilly. She is at Ty's house, and she's just looking around because it's kind of destroyed at this point. So then another cop shows up, and he was like, she tells him that this is the Johnston residence. He's like, oh, Tyrone. So then he gets on his, his walkie-talkie. He puts a bolo out for Ty. I'm like, oh, great, here we go again. So then, we see Tyrone and his mom there together, and she just wants to know, like, how did you get mixed up with these group of men? After he tells her, what they've done, she was like, how did you get mixed up with this? First of all, why are you still in the city? Like, the cops are after you. Why are you still here? And Tyrone is like, because this is home. And she's like, I thought I raised you better than that. Like, you are being so stupid to still be here, and they're looking for you. So then, they, what happened was they're driving around because the mama stole a car when the gang member was after them. So then, they run into the cops, and I'm like, oh my God, no, please don't let Tyrone get in trouble. So then we go back to Tandy and Mayhem, and, so they're in the mall, and, they've come up to, they're looking at a map of it, and Mayhem was like, this is pretty much the end of it, because there's nothing but mirrors here. So they go look in the mirrors, and, Mayhem was like, yeah, see, that's kind of odd for there to be nothing in the mirrors. But then we look over at Tandy, and there are 5 different Tandys that we can, 5 different versions of Tandy. So then Tandy walks up to the mirrors, and there's just one last version, and she puts her hand up to it, and then they go through it. So then, Tandy's just looking at Mayhem, and she's like, girl, why are you looking at me like that? And she's like, because you look so much like Bridget. And, she tells her how Mayhem, how she is toxic. She's a toxic side of Bridget, and, she's just her anger and pain. I'm like, well, God, that's something I would want to hear. Like, I'm a toxic person, which we know that she is, but dang, that's harsh, Tandy. Very harsh. All right, so then we see Ty and his mom. So they were on foot, and there was this cop who noticed, who kind of noticed him. He's like, hey, you, stop. So they take off running, and then they get on this trolley or tram, whichever one it was. I couldn't really tell what it was after they're spotted. But then the kid, you can see the kid that Tyrone saved in last week's episode. He notices them and he makes a phone call. So then, Tyrone and his mom are sitting down, And Tyrone is asking his mom, like, what was up with those papers back at the house? And she tells him, do not worry about it. They ain't got nothing to do with you. And I rewinded this scene multiple times because he mentioned something about Connors, but I could never quite understand what he said about Connors. So I'm sorry that I don't know what he said about Connors, but I just kept rewinding and I could not make out what he was saying. Because sometimes when he talks, it sounds like he got I don't mean to be funny, but it sounds like he has marbles in his mouth, and it's just kind of, or you can't really understand what he's saying. So I couldn't quite put that one, two and two together with what he said. So if anybody knows what he said, leave it in the comments below. So then while they're on the trolley, Tyrone notices the kid that he saved, and Tyrone tells his mom, we got to get off of here. So they get off of there and they take off running. I'm like, damn, I know that mama got to be tired. Her feet have got to be tired of running. So then we see Tandy and Mayhem. So they're still walking through the mall, and then they notice that it looks like someone is living there as well, which we know who that person is. They said that they've been living there for months. So Mayhem thinks she knows who it is. Well, she knows who it is. Even Tandy knows who it is, because she said it's someone who's scared of the kid and that's also scarred. And we all know that is Connors. But Tandy wants to pretend like she doesn't know who Mayhem is talking about. And Mayhem was like, "Girl, I don't know why you sitting here pretending like you don't know who I'm talking about. You know good damn well who I'm talking about. I'm talking about Connors." But again, Tandy wants to pretend like she doesn't know who the girl is talking about, which she does. All right, so next we see Ty and his mom. They're at this hideout that he's at, and he's talking about vampire nuns, and he's just telling his mom the story about the vampire nuns. I'm gonna be honest with you, I was confused. I'm like, with the story with the vampire nuns, and then we see Mayhem and Tandy. They go to this record shop, and they look at these records, the album, the covers of the records, and each cover is one of the missing girls. So I was kind of confused. I'm like, so the story that Mayhem is telling, is this the same as the story that Tyrone is telling? Like, I didn't quite catch the parallel of why it was like a split, a side by, not a side by side, but a split scene where it seemed like they were talking about the same thing. But like I said, Mayhem is talking about the missing girls. She's talking about she doesn't know who bought the ambulances and, what they're up to. And, so then, like I said, Tyrone was telling his mom about the vampire nuns. She was like, where did you learn this story from? He was like, a friend. She was like, what friend? He said, Evita. She said, oh, it's not the blonde girl that came to the house last year, was it? He said, no, that's Tandy. She's like, yeah, it's something wrong with that girl. Like, she's off. He says, no, she's just complicated. She's like, yeah, when she came over to my house, my badge came up missing coincidentally. He said, you didn't lose your badge? She said, no. We know what happened with the badge. I mean, Tandy is messed up, but Tandy's a good person. At the end of the day, she's a good person. She's just flawed and, again, messed up. So then she asks, how does Evita know these stories? And, Tyrone tells her that, her family has a voodoo shop. And then once again, this kid shows up with a gun, and the kid was really shaky with the gun. I'm like, y'all could just easily just knock that gun out of his hand. But I get it. You don't want to frighten him, because if you frighten the kid, he might accidentally shoot. But the kid was just shaking like a leaf with that gun in his hand. I'm like, that kid is terrified like it ain't nothing. So then we see Tandy and Mayhem, and they're still in the record shop at the mall. So then Tandy starts playing these records of her life, because she starts flipping them. She's like, this is my life. So she plays one of them, and this is her as an infant, and her mom and dad are putting her in her crib, but her mom and dad are arguing. And I'm like, okay, now we're starting to see, because her mom said earlier in the season that her dad abused her. So now we're starting to see what Tandy doesn't remember. So then we go back to Ty and his mom, and Ty is asking the kid, does he want to, talk? He's trying to talk the kid down and saying, hey man, I saved you from being killed. So this is what you really want? This is how you really want to thank me? So then Ty's mom steps in to protect him, and she's talking about how, she wants to see Tyrone graduate, get married, have kids, take her out, because basically she's lived her life. And so then we see the whole gang members, they just roll up hella deep And I'm like, oh God, this is not gonna end well for Tyrone or his mom. Well, I'm thinking maybe his mom is not. It was not gonna end well for her. I'm like, oh my God. I just was like, dang, please don't let this be the end of the road for the mama. So then we go back to the record shop, and Tandy is still playing records of her life. So in one part of it, she put on a record, and we see her, and it's almost as if her parents were arguing, and I guess it's like they gave her an iPad with her headphones, so that way she drowned out all the noise of her mom and dad. And I'm like, God, that had to be a horrible, horrible way to live life. So then Ty, his mom, is talking to him, and she's telling him how she wants to distract the gang as he makes a run for it. And he says, no, Mom, I can't do that. He says he has a way to make it right. So he takes it from the kid, and then we see him as he calls O'Reilly for help. So then O'Reilly shows up, and Ty tells her, get his mom out of there and tell them she had nothing to do with it, and tell them that he wants to surrender. He has no weapons on him. So then we go back over to Tandy, and Tandy, she's listening to another record, but this time she takes the record off and she throws it down and she breaks the record, and she's looking around for Mayhem, and she doesn't see Mayhem. So then we go back over to where Tyrone is, and O'Reilly is taking his mom out, and she sees the chief. And she's like, but I told you he wasn't armed. She's like, yeah, like I'm going to believe that. I guess because he's black, No, I'm just playing. I'm not going to go there. I'm not going to go there. But, yeah. So then back at the mall, we see Mayhem, actually we see Connors. And Connors has his raincoat. So then we see Mayhem, and she knocks him out. I'm like, oh my God. So then, we see her. She has a noose around his neck, and she's hanging him, trying to kill him. I'm like, please don't kill him. Like, we need him alive. Unfortunately, we need that sad sack of crap alive to, help Tyrone out. So then Tandy comes in, and Tandy stops her from killing him. And then we see them all start to teleport. I'm like, oh no. I'm like, what's going on? So they go back. So they teleport, and we see them at the church that Tyrone and Tandy have hidden out at. And we see Connors as well. So Connors, he busts out a window and he takes out running. I'm like, that coward. Like, of course, that's what you're going to do. But you guys, that was the episode. Like the video, leave your comments, subscribe to the channel, and I will see you guys later. Peace.